What is up, sports fans, and welcome back to Talk a Lotta, where we talk a lot of sports. This is a combo podcast. We'll call it Jack Out the Box because it's Talk a Lotta and it's John Wallace of the Out the Box podcast in Baton Rouge. I'll be covering Tulane tonight. John will be in Baton Rouge covering LSU versus New Mexico. We'll talk about those two games, but first we want to make college football picks for the day, starting with the games that are going to kick off at 1 p.m., 2 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Central time, I believe. We're going to make our picks. We're going to pick winners. We're going to talk a little bit about the odds. But first, remember that all of this is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of Boot Crew Media. Bet $5, get $200 in free play. Again, download the DraftKings Sportsbook. Use the code BOOT, bet $5, and get $200 in free play. Right now is a perfect time to place some bets, drink some beers, pregame, and get ready for a great slate of college football games. John called it a little weird, but before I give John the floor, here's a message from our presenting sponsor, Bear Law LLC. And we'll get started with Talk a Lotta in 3, 2, and 1.
At Bear Law LLC, we have the privilege of representing victims and survivors that are oftentimes involved in catastrophic incidents that affect their lives.
If anyone looking for a personal and loving relationship with law, I would choose Bear Law.
At Bear Law, our goal is to turn victims into victors.
John Wallace, ladies and gentlemen, how you feeling, brother?
Jack, what's going on, man? Thanks for having me on Talk a Lotta. It's been a long time coming to podcasts that talk a lot of sports, and I didn't even catch it at first. But did you mean to say the name of this podcast was Jack Out the Box instead of Jack in the Box? Like, was that?
Well, yeah, I had an opportunity to go at Jack in the Box, but like, what's the point? Before we get into the college football picks, like, what was kind of the meaning behind that name? Because obviously, if we were to ever combine shows and decide on a name, I'd want it to be like Jack in the Box or John in the, like, I don't know. I mean, the box can be used in many different ways. It can have many different meanings. But tell me first why it's called Out the Box Podcast.
So we started about 2.5, 3 years ago, and we originally, me, James Luffy, got together and we said, you know what, we're constantly talking sports. We always, why not put a camera to these conversations, right? Why not record what we're talking about? And we started off as an LSU baseball podcast. We decided that we were going to do it on our way up to Omaha in 2017. We rode together, and that's when we became good friends. Our good friend Rory, who shout out just had his first child last week.
Congrats, Rory.
He joined us about 10 episodes in. He was a massive supporter of us going on, and we were all LSU baseball fans. Well, 3 weeks after we started our LSU baseball podcast, COVID ended all sports. So we reached out and kind of started talking all LSU sports, and it just kind of grew from there. But for those that don't know, the LSU baseball stadium is Alex Box Stadium. Right. So we were trying to come up with a play on words to represent the LSU baseball stadium and talk baseball. But it kind of goes with everything as well, and we have a lot of out-the-box ideas. So
I like that. Yeah, I actually had no idea that it was based off Alex Box Stadium. Obviously, I knew that was the name of the baseball stadium, but I didn't even think that's where like the root of the name was. So I like that. I love the logo too. You guys do a great job of covering LSU sports. And yeah, we're gonna jump into a fucking college football fiesta today. And we're gonna pick winners, and then we'll talk a little bit about LSU, New Mexico. Obviously, Kayshon Boutte is going to be out. Boutte baby is on the way. He's going to be with his girlfriend, so he was excused for the game for the birth of his first child. We'll talk about how that impacts the LSU offense, but obviously looking for dubs for both LSU and Tulane. We'll get into that, but first, John, let's go through some quick hits. Let's do some quick hits, some quick picks. For the slate today. So Massachusetts at Temple, both teams 1 and 2. Temple's minus 10.5. Who you got?
I'm going to start off the 2 o'clock. Well, it's actually 1 o'clock our time, but I'm going to go ahead and start off our slate with the underdog UMass +10.
Okay. So you're just picking lines, right? You're just picking UMass to cover.
Straight up lines, and I'll read out the their UMass +10. So I'm going to read out the spread as well. It's hard. I have a hard time picking straight up money lines because the payouts aren't for everybody.
No, I agree. UCLA is 3-0. They're at Colorado, who is 0-3, and UCLA is -21.5.
UCLA cover -21.5. I think they blow Colorado out the water.
Fordham 3-0 at Ohio 1-2.
I don't even have an allegiance in this game. I don't even have a spread on this game, but you got to take the home team.
Okay. Notre Dame 1-2. That's just a brutal record to see next to Notre Dame's name. They're at UNC, who's 3-0. That game's on ABC at 2:30 today, and North Carolina has a -2.5.
I think Notre Dame's kind of had a rough go of it, and I think they're going to bounce back today. I would take them since they're the underdog. I would take them to win outright.
Okay. So you're taking Notre Dame money line at +115?
Yes.
Like that.
It's 2.5 points. Whenever I see that spread, it to me, it's not worth it at all because I'd be crushed if a team wins by 1 or 2. So you got to take them outright. I think they kind of bounce back. I think Marcus Freeman is kind of ironing out some of the post Brian Kelly issues that they had. So I think they bounce back today. Probably wrong though.
They got like some postpartum things going on over there.
Yes.
Middle Tennessee State 2-1 at the number 25 ranked team in the nation, Miami, Florida, also 2-1. The U has -25.5.
This one honestly could be kind of a toss-up. I see that they blew out Bethune-Cookman 70-13 in their first game, but they haven't scored a ton of points, in their bout against A&M and Southern Miss. So I am going to take Middle Tennessee covering the 25.5 points.
Boy, if you took Middle Tennessee to win this game plus 1,500, that's a number I like to see up there, baby. That's like picking a winner in a golf tournament number right there.
Yes.
Minnesota 3-0 at Michigan State 2-1, and I just learned recently that the kicker for Jesuit, I think, is going to go to Michigan State. Morton Anderson retweeted something that I posted a couple weeks ago, and somebody showed me that he said MSU Spartan at the end, which I think means that Aiden Corbello from Jesuit is going to go there. I don't know if he's committed or not, but that's kind of cool to see a kicker from New Orleans go play at Michigan State. You don't hear that a lot from New Orleans college football prospects. So, but anyway, Minnesota is -2.5 at Michigan State.
The game being at Michigan State and the fact that we're getting New Orleans involved all the way up at Michigan, I'm taking Michigan State. I have +3. So if you have a +3, you take that. But if it's 2.5, you just take Michigan State outright.
Are you on DraftKings lines?
I actually am just looking at the score app right now. I do not. Okay. I didn't want to chance. My Wi-Fi is terrible, so I didn't want to chance having a loading issue.
Yeah, no. I'm using multiple different websites too, but this one is kind of fluctuating as well. So it's either 2.5 or 3, but either way, you're going to take. You're definitely taking +3 for Michigan State. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And if you want to go money line on that, Michigan State's +125. Number 20, the Florida Gators 2-1 at number 11, Tennessee 3-0. Probably the biggest SEC game. And probably the biggest game of the day. That kicks off at 2:30 our time. Tennessee's got -10.5.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the game of the day for me. I think Tennessee, up to this point, you could say that they have huge blowout wins against Ball State and Akron. Florida State's kind of struggled a little bit. They had that good win in week 1. But I think that Florida is going to cover the 10.5 points. I think that's a lot in a game like this. I think it's going to be kind of a messy football game. Florida State's still trying to figure it out. It is at Tennessee, and we do play Tennessee at home the week following Auburn. So I would like to think that that's going to be a good game as well. So and we play Florida as well, but we play Tennessee at home and then we go to Florida. So I'd like to see this be a close game. So that would, in my head, that would make it more of an even matchup for us if this game's close. So I got Florida covered plus 10.5.
But you still think Tennessee's going to win?
I don't know. It's hard to say because Tennessee hasn't played anybody to this point. I mean, Florida, they lost by 10 against Kentucky. I'd say that's their biggest challenge, and they beat Utah in week 1, which that game was probably the most exciting. But I think it's going to come down to the quarterback play. Seeing if what's the Florida quarterback's name? I'm drawing a blank.
Anthony Richardson.
Anthony Richardson. It's going to be a is he for real game against Tennessee at Tennessee today.
But I think Hendon Hooker's the real deal.
Yeah, and that's also a thing. I mean, he's put up a lot of points, but like I said, we're finding out a lot about whether these teams are for real today. This game is either going to be really close, or I think one of the two is going to run away with it.
Yo, leave a comment, ask a question. If you have a pick, we'll let you know. We're obviously going to be talking LSU and Tulane after we finish these picks. As we turn the corner, we're going to paint the corner with our sponsor, Helm Paint and Decorating. Call 504-861-8179 or visit helmpaint.com. That's HELM paint.com, the official paint and decorating center of Talkalata. Again, HELM paint.com. Mention Talkalata for 10% off your next purchase at Helm Paint. Next game on the slate, Indiana 3-0 at Cincinnati 2-1. Cincinnati's got minus 16.5.
This one I don't know much about. I guess the ins and outs of each team. I think 16.5 points is a lot against a team that is 3-0, but at the same time is Indiana, the Indiana that everybody wants them to be. I just for the heck of it am going to take Indiana plus 16.5.
Okay. James Madison, 2-0 at my favorite team in college football right now, Appalachian State, baby.
Yeah, I was big on the Out the Box podcast in our House Always Wins segment talking about Appalachian State. Shout out to the House Bar in Tigerland, free plug on the Talk a Lot of podcasts.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, always free plugs.
But this ain't like I said on the Out the Box podcast, this isn't the Appalachian State that Adam Sandler mentioned in
Longest Yard. Yes,
Longest Yard. He would always say that Appalachian State was a tune-up game. They're for real this year. They did lose to North Carolina, and they beat Texas A&M, and they had the close game against Troy last week. But honestly, at this point in previous years, Appalachian State would be 0-3. So I like Appalachian State to cover 6.5. I love a 6.5 point spread, especially Appalachian State being at home. James Madison, whatever. They
Right.
beat Middle Tennessee and Norfolk State by a lot, but I'm not buying it. Appalachian State covered 6.5.
All the way, baby. I'm with you on that. And I love that you remember that because every time I hear the word Appalachian State, I think about that line from Adam Sandler. And I want to give a shout out to Matt Moscona because on his AFR episode, I think it was Wednesday, it was a hump day episode, they started talking about something and they got into Big Daddy references, and then like the whole show, Matt and his producer could just not stop laughing at Big Daddy references, which is also a classic. But I love a good Longest Yard reference, and that Appalachian State reference is so true. Plus, I mean, we just remember growing up seeing the Appalachian State Michigan upset and thinking like that was the craziest thing in the world. And I think since then, this team has really like progressed. People want to go there. People want to live in that area. And that football team can clearly compete with the upsets they've put on this season. So I'd love to see them get into the top 25. They can freaking win out. So definitely covering minus 6.5 today for App State. Toledo 2-1 at San Diego State 1-2. Not that we really care about this game, but hey, what you got?
We don't. But Toledo -3.
Okay. Unavailable on my betting site lines is Texas at Texas Tech. Do you have a line for that?
I do. I have Texas -7 at
Okay.
Texas Tech.
And what you taking?
I don't know. They stuck with Alabama in week 2. I think Texas is. I'm not at all saying that they're back, but I think with them being on the way to the SEC, I want them to be good. Texas Tech doesn't really have any marquee games that they've played thus far. This will be the biggest challenge. I'm taking Texas -7. I don't really like taking -7. I do see the over in this game, which is 61 points. I could easily see that going under, but I don't take unders. If you listen to the Out the Box podcast, I do not take unders.
We never take unders.
Yeah,
I don't either, John. I really don't.
I and it's cost me, but it's out of principle. So
I mean, it's just like, why would you ever want to cheer for teams not to score? Like,
never.
You know, like, I think the only thing I can get behind, if you really kind of are getting into the World Cup, you know, we like to talk a lot of sports. Soccer is one of those sports I can appreciate the patience and the nature of the hard work that it takes to put the ball in the back of the net. So that's like one sport that if I'm really growing into or watching a big tournament, you know, MLR game or a friendly or the World Cup, obviously, like that's a sport where I can be okay with. And I definitely wouldn't take the over or the under. I'd probably take the over in soccer games because it's just always more fun to see teams score and see sick goals, that happen off, corner kicks or whatever it may be. But the point I'm getting at is, like, that's the only sport that I would really be okay with, like a 1-0 game where they score at the end. Like, I never want to take the under when the under is like 45 or 50 or 65 in college football, because that just means it's just going to be like a bad offensive game.
Wholeheartedly agree.
So, North Texas at Memphis.
North Texas is also kind of a team that reminds me of the old Appalachian State.
Yeah.
I don't think they're on the upward trajectory that Appalachian State is. I'm taking Memphis -13.
I met a girl who last year, she's a friend of mine's cousin. She's a cheerleader at North Texas, and she said it's low-key like a really fun school to go to. So you know what? I think I'm going to hammer a +13 for North Texas today.
All right. I think that's the first one we've disagreed on, and I'm here for it.
Florida International, FIU at Western Kentucky, and Western Kentucky is -31. I like that +31 action for FIU.
I'm in on that. I don't care about this game at all, but I'm in on that.
Cool. Texas Southern at UTSA, a little everything's bigger in Texas action for these two teams. It's in San Antonio. Get your culture ready, because San Antonio is just like one of my favorite places. It's just like a fun place to go and visit and hang out. And I got a buddy who lives there. So what you thinking?
I'm taking Texas Southern for the sole reason that they're in the SWAC, and that we had Southern in Tiger Stadium, and we got to see the human jukebox. That's the line in the parallel that I'm taking to Texas Southern, is that they're in the same conference as Southern. So I'm taking. I don't even have a line on my app, but
I have +42.
Okay, well, 2 1-2 teams. That kind of like you said, it's more about the atmosphere and where the game's at than the two teams playing. So I'll take Texas Southern +42 if that's what we're given.
All right. We're going to skip ahead because there's so many freaking games. And we've been talking about like random games. Let's skip over to Louisiana Tech at South Alabama. It's -13 for USA.
Anytime, and today I'm picking a lot of dogs. Anytime I get the chance to bet on Louisiana Tech, I'm going to take them. Like I said, multiples of 3 and 7 spreads are definitely tough in football. But if you have a chance to buy a half point, I would do it. I got Louisiana Tech minus 13.5.
And we'll close out with 2 Louisiana games. That's the reason for John and I coming together today on this episode of Talk Colada to talk Tulane and LSU. Southern Miss at Tulane 3-0. They finished 2-10 last year, so they already have more wins. A huge upset at Kansas State this past weekend, and just a lot of hype around New Orleans and the Tulane football organization. Tulane's minus 12.5. I actually see this being a really close game. I don't really care about the line. I don't care about the odds. I don't care about the money. I got Tulane winning the game outright. As far as the spread goes, though, I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Just for the sole reason that you're going to be there covering the Tulane game, I'm going to take Tulane covering the. I'm seeing 11.5. But I have them covering regardless whether it's 11 or 12.5.
Wow. Okay.
I think you're going to be there and you're going to be willing them to victory.
Oh yeah. No, Tulane's not losing, and I'd like to see them. I'd like to see that game go over the 49, which is what I'm seeing right now. So I'd like to see more than 50 points scored by both teams. So or combined. So let's have a good game in NOLA tonight. And to close us out, LSU versus New Mexico. The line I have is minus 31.5.
Yeah, I got that. I think if you saw the way LSU approached Southern, I think LSU and Jaden Daniels, this game, like I said, it's not so much about the 2 teams playing. LSU is going to win. I do have a couple notes jotted down about like what this game means as LSU heads to Auburn next week, right? I think Jaden Daniels needs to take this game and really try to become more comfortable in the pocket. I think he has to learn that he has more time in the pocket. And I think if you're going to have this would be considered a tune-up game. Like we were talking about LSU, in Appalachian State earlier and Adam Sandler. Jaden Daniels has to get more comfortable in the pocket. They're going to score their points. I think Kayshon Boutte, this would have been a great game for him to get more comfortable as well. But you got to put down the game for the birth of your first child. Completely understandable. I'd like to see John Emery get a lot of carries this game as well. I think last week was his first game back. Armani Goodwin had a great game as well last week, but I want to see John Emery, what he can do and his explosiveness against a team where we should put up a lot of points. The other key that I have is Matt House needs to keep doing what he's doing, allow 0 points, and get our guys on defense experience and no injuries. Jay Ward had the scary play late in the game last week. I think the key to this game is to work on everything you can, get up as many points as you can, and get your star players out of there before they get a chance to get injured. Obviously, LSU is going to cover. Something to look at, LSU beat Southern 65-17. Mm-hmm. And the over on this game is 44.5. So if LSU covers the spread at 31, that only leaves less than 2 touchdowns to score. So I think LSU over easily on this game as well.
Do you think Kayshon Boutte has a chance to win the Blitkoff Award? And do you think the fact that he's missing this game will put him out of competition for that?
I, to this point, do not see that happening. I think he's a preseason All-American. Everybody knows the talent, but he has some strides he's got to make. Like I said, it's not necessarily his fault. My whole take on LSU this year has been our line needed time to get adjusted. You had the switch up at center. Dellinger, got taken out of that role. And it's all about Jaden Daniels figuring out how much time he has in the pocket. And as soon as he doesn't see his first read, he has to be more comfortable sitting back, going through his progressions. And like I said, I get why he's so run happy, because he's good at it, right? And he can get out of there. When he's being chased, he knows, oh, I can scramble for 10 yards to get the first down. But that's why I want to see him sit in the pocket. Kayshon Boutte needs to have big games in big games, like big games for him in big games, going to Auburn, Tennessee at home, on the road at Florida. I don't think he's out of the running, but he's got some legwork to do. Do I think it affects his chances, him missing this game? If you penalize a guy for taking off for the birth of his firstborn,
right,
then that's on you, right? Yeah. So no, I don't think him being out this game hurts him. I think the only way that it hurts him is him not getting the reps and the experience with Jaden Daniels.
I have the Bear Law LLC tough question of the day for you, John. But first, does it get better, any better than this on a Saturday night?
No.
When that guy says "let's go," I'm just like, I was so stoked. I mean,
so I'll be very honest with you. Like I mentioned before at the kind of the start of this podcast, my Wi-Fi is absolutely terrible, so the video kind of lagged and whatnot. But I know that there's nothing better than the LSU band and the cheerleaders coming on to the field like that. I've been to every game so far this season, and there is no better feeling. And I especially love LSU fans walking onto the field in the middle of a play and acting like they're a coach, assessing a 7-on-7 drill. That was electric. I hope to see that again tonight. I wish Tulane would be brave enough or drunk enough to do that at every LSU game.
Dude, that was, oh my God, that was unbelievable.
So I'll be honest with you. I was sitting in the north end zone, but kind of on the other side of the field. We didn't see him walk onto the field during the play. We just saw 8 cops tackling him. But going back and seeing the video the next day was electric. It always hypes up the crowd. Everybody, the guy got the biggest standing ovation of the night, other than the human jukebox, right? But I do always like to think about, it's crazy. Like, not many people are brave enough to walk onto the field during a play. I know I wouldn't. And if I were to get hit by, say there was a pick six, which was very likely in that game, say he gets trucked, I'd wake up like a week later from a coma if that happened to me.
Right.
So I hope that happens again tonight.
Dude, that guy was on another level. Just a brisk walk. I mean, the use of the word brisk there is like just the greatest description of all time. It was like a brisk walk on a Sunday morning out to the 10-yard line.
The hands on the hips is what did it for me. I mean, the dude, he looked like an old, like 60-year-old Nick Saban, like reading a 7-on-7 drill at practice. Like, that's where coaches stand at practice, and that's what he was doing. So yes, that's exactly it. He was comfortable, and then he tried to act like he wasn't doing anything wrong. I don't know if he was in the right frame of mind, but
oh my goodness, what a legend! What an absolute fucking legend!
It was electric.
The tough question for you, John, is you obviously are a LSU alum, have an LSU podcast, live in Baton Rouge, go to every game. You and I obviously have just different perspectives on football, and I'm a guy who went to every. Actually, a fun fact for you, went to every LSU game except for one during the 2019 season, went to the semifinal game, went to the championship game. So it was in Atlanta in the Mercedes-Benz stadium. Saw us kick Oklahoma's behind, and then was obviously there in the Superdome. And John, I hadn't gone to a game since that season until this past Saturday against Mississippi State. So I'm currently like 12-0 or 13-0 of LSU games that I've attended over the last 3 years. Obviously, I just picked a good time to not go to any LSU games in 2020 and 2021. But I don't think my presence is going to affect the fact that we're going to beat New Mexico today. But I wanted to mention that because the tough question is, what's a bigger game? Take your LSU love and your bias out. What's a bigger game for just Louisiana football today, in your opinion? LSU going 3-1 against a team that they should handle, or Tulane having the ability to start 4-0 in New Orleans by beating a rival team, Southern Miss?
I would say that, just straight up, not giving much thought to it, I'd say obviously Tulane going for 4-0. Look, I'm a Baton Rouge guy through and through. I've never left Baton Rouge for more than a week. Okay, like I've gone on vacations. I grew up in Baton Rouge. I went to high school here. Rivaled a Jesuit Catholic high guy. But I went straight to LSU. I never got to leave to go off to college somewhere else. I didn't even get to, you're from New Orleans, you come up to Baton Rouge, and it's still like you got to get out of your city, right?
Yeah.
I know what this game means for LSU. This is more of a stepping stone game and a building block for next weekend. I think next weekend, I don't know who Tulane plays next weekend, but I think LSU going on the road and beating Auburn on the road is going to be huge for the state of Louisiana. And then the following week, Tennessee. That Tennessee game in Baton Rouge is going to be electric. I think the atmosphere on campus, if LSU is 4-1 heading into that game, especially since I have LSU over 6.5 wins as my future bet for this year, I think it's gonna be electric. But I think Tulane, it's always good to have Louisiana schools win. I always try to bet on Louisiana schools. I have been a Tulane fan.
Yeah.
My ride or die, my heart is with LSU. But yeah, I think Tulane going 4-0 to start the season. I mean, how great is that for Louisiana? I want Louisiana Tech to win. I want ULL to win. Big Louisiana football guy.
Right.
But fun fact for you about LSU, I was a fifth-year senior at LSU when we won the Natty. I was at the semifinal game as well. I didn't make it to the SEC championship. I was at all the home games. I didn't make it to the SEC championship, but that didn't matter because we kicked the crap out of Georgia. But I was sitting in the Taco Bell student section. I was one of 500 students because of my attendance and my priority points over the years at LSU. I was one of the 500 students to sit in the Taco Bell student section. They paid for my ticket to the Natty. So
wow,
that is a story I like to tell, and it was magical. But hey, all that to say, we need you in Baton Rouge for Tennessee in 2 weeks. That is, especially if we beat Auburn next week.
Yeah. No, I know. I told you the news earlier that I'm gonna be starting on Tuesday at WGNO. It's the first time I've mentioned that, so I'm excited to take on that job. And obviously, Talk Colada is going to continue, but hopefully, I get the assignment to be at Tulane to cover for the ABC affiliate here in New Orleans, and I'll see you there, brother. But let's just hope. My ideal situation tonight, as I told you, is Tulane's just kicking the shit out of Southern Miss, and I can just leave at halftime and go up to BR and, catch the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Yep.
And we can hit up Tigerland after.
Yeah. Yep. They just finished recently they finished the bridge going into Tigerland. I know that was hard for everyone to get over there after the games, but all that to say, I think these ought to be two great games for the state of Louisiana. It's always good to get a sweep. I tell people all the time, a sweep for me in football is Catholic winning Friday night, LSU winning Saturday, and then the Saints winning on Sunday. let's add Tulane to that. I don't know. I didn't check the scores last night. You might know. I do know
Jesuit lost, so I'm not getting a clean sweep.
Jesuit lost. I do not know if Catholic was able to get the dub. I assume they did, just because they're a good team. But
all right, don't be assuming shit.
But yeah, let's add Tulane to that. Let's get the 2 should-be wins for LSU and Tulane, and then we'll go on the road tomorrow. I'll be on my couch, and we'll watch the Saints pummel Baker as he's having a little bit of trouble in Carolina.
Curdog football, proud of true freshman Emory Jones making his first college start of many. That was last week. EJ is a heck of a player, but a first-class human being and a hardworking student athlete. Emory Jones made history on last Saturday by making his first college start. So shout out to the Catholic High faithful and Emory Jones on that. Let's check the score real quick and see if Catholic High got the dub. And while I'm doing that, John, just close out with kind of what you expect to see from the defensive side, because we mentioned Jay Ward, obviously BJ Ojulari, but like, what's your big, box to check? You're out the box to check as far as defensive performance and how we handled New Mexico tonight.
Well, I saw something earlier that like somebody was already mentioning the idea because of the way Matt House has taken this defense, and you hold Mississippi State to 14 points against the air raid. He shut it down on his own, right? Yeah. And the resiliency, we were down in the fourth quarter, and to be able to come back and ultimately win the game and hold Mississippi State to 16 points. Granted, Mississippi State might not have been as good as we thought they would be, but I just hope
we are who they thought we were.
Right. I just hope that we hold them to a low amount of points, but I also don't want to see the under happen, right? I want the over to hit. I think LSU could honestly hit the over by themselves tonight, but like I said, I want LSU to get as many guys in the game as possible. I want to avoid injuries. I do not want to see Jay Ward go down like Mason Smith did in the first drive of the game tonight. I want to see us keeping guys fresh. I want to see guys getting the work in and ultimately holding them to 0 points. That's what you want to see. But at the same time, if Matt House, the tweet I saw and that I was mentioning is that I don't want to see Matt House do so well this year that he's gone next year. Right.
Right.
So I want to see, the main 2 things I want to see is no injuries, and I want to see us commanding the game and getting our depth ready, because we're going to need our depth against Auburn, Tennessee, Florida, and I'm not even thinking about Alabama yet. But if we're going to even hang with I've mentioned this on Out the Box where I'm not expecting LSU to beat Alabama. I've kind of succumbed to that they're just better than us. And they have been for a while now. But like I said, I just want LSU to use this game and correct the things. You've seen Brian Kelly make adjustments week to week. That is something LSU fans haven't seen in a while, short of the 2019 season. LSU didn't need to get any better throughout the season. You are actively seeing a coach address issues that need to be addressed and making changes. So that's what I'd like to see tonight.
Catholic High beat St. Thomas More 49-28 last night. So the Bears moved to 3-1, I believe. What do you think about that Glenn Gilbo tweet about a coaching change like Billy Napier for LSU? Did you see that?
Remind me.
Okay, let me call up the tweet. Hang on.
I'm trying to load it as well. I mean, was it something to do with like the fact that LSU should have taken Napier instead of Brian Kelly?
Dude got absolutely destroyed on Twitter.
Look, I mean, why are you pulling it up? I mean, Rory on Out the Box is not a Napier truther. I'm not necessarily like full blown on the fact that we should have.
Oh, I found it.
Okay.
The tweet is LSU coaching search update. Billy Napier, 2-1, still leads Brian Kelly as his only L is to number 8 Kentucky and has wins over number 13 Utah. Kelly, 2-1, has a loss to unranked Florida State, and best win is over unranked Mississippi State. And then he added, but remember, I wanted Lane Kiffin or Lincoln Riley, who each would have been first real offensive coordinator hired by LSU as head coach. Riley's USC is 3-0 and is ranked number 7. And I mean, the comments on that first tweet from this guy was like, this is why nobody likes you. This is why I will not buy your book. I don't know why you say stuff like that. Keep stirring the pot. I mean, he got some heat on Twitter. I mean, look, he's a writer. He's expressing his opinion. Like, I'm not going to comment on the character of the guy. I just wonder why, I guess, from your perspective, do you think like I plan on Brian Kelly being the head coach of LSU for like 10 years. Like I just, at this point, I just think it's just like an unnecessary thought to even enter your mind is like, oh, we should have done this, or we could go get this guy. Like this guy's coached 3 games. Like,
Dude, the way I see it, and this has kind of been my thought process the whole time. I was a big fan of the Brian Kelly hire because he hit the glass ceiling at Notre Dame. He made it to Natties. He did everything he could do, but you hit a ceiling and you can't break through it. At LSU, I mean, I'm perfectly okay with going on record saying that LSU is going to win a national championship under Brian Kelly. I think that Billy Napier, great guy, great coach. I loved what he did at ULL, and I love the fact that he got a quality gig over at Florida. Do I think would I have rather us take the guy from ULL or take the guy who was at Notre Dame with
the winningest, the winningest FBS coach? Like,
right. And you said, you can plan on Brian Kelly being the coach for the next 10 years. He will be because of the money that he's getting paid. The contract is there. He ain't going nowhere. And I guarantee you, I mean, I'm not trying to look, you got to think Nick Saban's going to be out the picture. Hopefully, he did get the extension recently, but Brian Kelly's going to be up there. We proved that we can compete with Alabama in 2019. And I have no doubt in my mind, just seeing LSU week to week, the progress that we've made. I was talking on Out the Box about how I was watching, I think Undisputed is not a very great show with Skip Bayless.
I love Shannon, though.
Dude, I think he's got a lot of hot takes, and I don't think they watch all the games. I think Shannon Sharp said that his first thing, talking about the LSU Florida State game was that that Brian Kelly was getting paid $100 million and he loses to Florida State. It's like, dude, do you realize the amount of turnover that Brian Kelly had from this year to last year and the talent that left after 2019? The program was, I wouldn't say in shambles, but it was not a perfect situation that he inherited. And LSU almost won the Florida State game. You have a doink field goal, and LSU, you're not having that conversation. You can't just walk into a program and be the 2019 LSU Tigers. It's not going to happen. So all that to say, look, I'm not going to, like you said, I'm not commenting on Glenn Gilbo and whatnot. There's going to be people who think we should have hired Napier in the same way that I believe that Brian Kelly was the right hire. That's the great thing about sports. Everybody's got an opinion. I don't agree with it, and I think it's going to take some patience. LSU fans, including myself, I'm a huge homer, have a tough time being patient, but I truly believe that it will pay off.
And at the end of the day, if we can get an upset, if you want to call it an upset, like you mentioned, get a win against Auburn, upset Tennessee, and who knows? I mean, keep Alabama honest, right? If the University of Texas at Austin can make that team twiddle their thumbs and bite their fingernails up until the final seconds of the game, then who's saying that Jaden Daniels can't put on the running and passing performance of his life against an Alabama defense that is NFL quality? And keep that team honest, right? It would be incredible to see, especially with the 12th man of Tiger Stadium in Death Valley and the Taco Bell student section still hung over from 2019 being there. But look, at the end of the day, it's a great day to have a great day. It's a great day for college football. It's a great day for Louisiana football. Let's get Louisiana Tech a dub. let's get Tulane a dub to go 4-0, and let's absolutely handle the New Mexico Lobos today in Death Valley. John Wallace from Out the Box Pod joining us here on Talk a Lotta, where we talk a lot of sports. For John, I am Jack, and we are signing out. Peace and love.
Thanks for having me, Jack. Congrats on the new gig.
Thanks, brother. Talk soon.
Yes, sir.